Cards on the table, I showed up to this movie a little late. I admit I missed about the first 10 minutes or so, but I have been filled in on the first 10 minutes of this movie, so I feel I can make a good judgment. The Fall Guy. So The Fall Guy is based off of an 80s TV series of the same name, which I'd never even heard of before this movie was coming out. It stars everyone's favorite doll face, Ryan Gosling, as professional movie stuntman Colt Seavers. He and director Jody Moreno, played by Emily Blunt, they used to date. They have split up, but he is trying to win her back. But the star of the movie they're both working on, named Tom Ryder, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, has gone missing, and so the movie's producer Gail deploys Colt Seavers to solve this mystery. And so we have our action comedy. And yeah, this movie's pretty fun. I'll admit, from the first trailer, I wasn't even entirely sold on whether or not I wanted to see this movie. I was like, alright, generic, fun, summer blockbuster-ish kind of movie. In fact, I dare say this is gonna be the movie that ushers in 2024's summer movie season. It's good to be back. But still, from that first trailer, I was like, It was the second trailer that convinced me to go see this movie. I remember seeing that second trailer for the first time in theaters and being like, oh, wow, okay, this actually looks really fun. And more importantly, it looks like a movie that I would enjoy. So I'll go see it, and I'm glad I did, because I enjoyed it. I mean, Ryan Gosling... Look, we were all there last summer when he made us laugh our socks off in what would end up being the highest grossing movie of 2023. I feel like Mr. Gosling here has never been more famous for his comedic acting than he is now. And in this movie he delivers, cause he is once again a man-child. He acts like a middle schooler with a crush when he's talking to Emily Blunt. He doesn't know what to say, he's slipping up, and yeah, he did have some moments that had me laughing out loud. And then I remember this is the guy from Blade Runner 2049. Man, this guy's got acting range. Go him. Which then the other side of this relationship is of course Emily Blunt, who we all know can be very charismatic when she wants to be. I mean, she was Mary Poppins for crying out loud. But also, I bought her as a film director in this movie. I mean, there's a scene about 15 minutes in, otherwise known as right after I sat down, where it's a long take and she, as a director, is just going through all these motions. She's trying to get so much done. People are coming up to her and approaching her during the film's production. It really does showcase these strenuous processes that directors go through every day during filmmaking. Kind of makes me feel bad for them, not gonna lie. But she was good, and her chemistry with Ryan Gosling was also really good. I mean, I bought their relationship about as much as I bought the relationship between her and Dwayne the Johnson in Jungle Cruise. It's that, lighthearted kind of romance. Perfectly fitting for a lighthearted movie like this. And yeah, Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, they're the foremost characters in this movie. That's why they're on the poster. But all the other supporting characters, they're really good too. Winston Duke is in this movie. He plays Ryan Gosling's friend. He's fun to watch. Stephanie Sue is in this movie. I didn't even know that beforehand, so when she showed up, I was like, oh my god, great to see you on the big screen again. I mean, it was inevitable, let's be honest, but I was certainly glad to see it here, where I least expected it. Let's talk about the action scenes in this movie, because they are awesome. There's some really fun stunt scenes. I mean, go figure. It's a movie about the stunt crew of a movie, so ironically, and in a kind of meta way, this movie's gonna have some great stunt work. During these really cool chase scenes, like the biggest action scene I remember from this movie is about halfway through. Ryan Gosling is fighting a bunch of guys in what looks like, I don't know what it is, some kind of garbage truck of some kind, I don't know. This truck is just going down the road. Ryan Gosling's fighting people. The little door, on the back is hitting the street, so sparks are flying. It's a big summer blockbuster action scene, and it was super entertaining to watch. And I could tell when a car flipped up and over itself and crashed, it was practical. Those were real cars flipping over and blowing up. I mean, yeah, I'm sure that CG was used when necessary, but when it came to the practical stunts, they looked real enough for me. Which then though, I will talk about the editing using the same scene as an example. While this whole action scene with Ryan Gosling is going down, it's cutting over to Emily Blunt in this other situation, and the editing going back and forth is so jarring. What I mean by that is, the action scene's going down, it's got stunts and the music score is going on, but then when it cuts over to Emily Blunt, all the sound in that action scene just immediately cuts off. There's no fade or anything. That sound just immediately cuts out, and that happens a lot in this movie. Which I get, yeah, that's played up for a comedic effect, but also the back and forth, it happens really fast, and it's not just in this scene, it's in a few scenes in this movie. The rapid cutting back and forth between two different situations, we have seen that technique used in other movies before, absolutely, but this movie does it a lot. For me, personally, that did get a little too jarring for my taste. Like, at a point, I was like, can we focus up? This back and forth is getting weird. The funny thing is, I feel like the movie listened to me at a point, cause it did stop eventually. Like, towards the third act, it didn't do that anymore. It just played the scene straight forward. I guess my main thing about this movie in particular is that it's so lighthearted, it never really gets serious. There were no scenes in this movie that really hit me in my heart where I was like, oh, there are the feels, man, alright, where are the Kleenexes? That never happened with me in this movie, and I'm sure that's not what it was trying to do. This movie does succeed in what it is trying to do, which is just be a lighthearted, fun popcorn movie. A good one to usher in 2024's summer movie season. It's good to be back. That being said, the lack of emotional scenes for me kept this movie from being a great summer movie as opposed to being a good summer movie. Like, you'll have fun with it, it's worth seeing for sure, but I don't need to see it again right away. I will say though, the music in this movie, the score, is really funny in its uniqueness, in that the score actually revolves around a song, like a needle drop. I was made for loving you, baby. Yeah, by Kiss. I noticed that melody in the score a lot throughout this movie, and I was like, holy crap, that's awesome. Props to Dominic Lewis on his work on this movie's score, and whoever's idea it was to have it revolve around that awesome Kiss song, cause that was really cool. So in the end, I had a lot of fun with The Fall Guy, even though I did miss the first 10 minutes, admittedly. Like I said, this movie is lighthearted fun. It's not gonna be a waste of your time or money. Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt are super fun to watch. The action is great. It's nonsensical for sure. I wouldn't call this movie realistic pretty much at all, but it's an action comedy, so it's fine. There are some laughs to be had, not a whole lot of drama. I'd say the perfect phrase to describe this movie is popcorn fluff. That's what The Fall Guy is. It's popcorn fluff with some killer music. So in that, for The Fall Guy, I will say, go see this movie while it's in theaters. And there is a mid-credit scene, in case you're wondering. So The Fall Guy, have you seen it yet? What are your thoughts on it? And have you seen any of the old show? What are your thoughts on that? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Now, if you'll excuse me, I gotta catch up on Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 3. Since it has wrapped up, I gotta watch the rest of the episodes so I can make a video on it. I'm about halfway through. Hopefully I'll have that video up by Star Wars Day. Peace!